right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk, John Iadarola with you guys. Fun and exciting day. We've got revolutionaries inside the House of Representatives correcting the corporate elite, and it is driving them crazy. I love it. Okay, so we're going to get to that story real soon. You know, John's show is now available for members, right? Everybody check out Damage Report. You can watch it live at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, okay? And Anna is going to be back. She's actually going to be on Fox LA's The Issue Is with Alex Michelson at 10:30 p.m. Pacific tomorrow, okay? And then she'll be back on the Young Turks on Monday. So apparently she's coming in tomorrow and going on that show, so check that out if you get a chance. Yes.
Can I plug today's episode?
Yeah.
Damage Report. So today we had two guests on the show, actually, two great guests. So one, Dave Lindorf, he recently wrote up that big article in The Nation about the Pentagon's $21 trillion worth of both ways accounting either issues or purposeful deception. So I interviewed him this morning, and Kate Aronoff of The Intercept, she sort of sketched out what could the world look like if we passed a Green New Deal now in 30 years in a bunch of different areas of society. What would it look like? So we had to talk about that and the politics of the Green New Deal.
Yeah, so speaking of John's guests, I have one of them on Rebel headquarters tonight, right after this show at tyt.com. That's the founder of the Sunrise Movement. So that's super cool. They've done an amazing job. Please check that out. I think you guys will love that interview following the Young Turks immediately on our website. Okay. Time to thank some folks who contributed to the Amplify program and then give you a fun announcement about it. Anonymous, thank you. But you'll also get a t-shirt. We know what your name is, we're just not ready. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so if you don't put your last name, we don't read your name online or put it up anywhere publicly, but we do know, of course, who you are, and we'll send you a t-shirt. I think we know who you are, but we at least have your email, okay? Anyway, William Serlatis from Houston, you get a t-shirt. These are all $150, all going to journalism students to spread the progressive message and a message about journalism, which we're gonna touch on a little bit later in this program. New York Times with a terrible, terrible headline that we're going to point out.
We do, yeah.
Rick Cangalosi from Spokane, Washington, you get a t-shirt. Brad Wiener from Fort Lee, New Jersey, you get a t-shirt. Sean Charette from Fontana, you get a t-shirt. Parker Chahak from Montclair, New Jersey, I love all these Jersey folks, you get a t-shirt. And now, can we see the t-shirt? I love this. I got to start wearing this on Old School now.
Nice, I gotta get one of those.
And I had a great Old School last night. Guys, man, we got a lot of wonderful programming for you guys. If you're progressive, you're old school, you don't even have to be progressive to love that show. tyt.com/join to become a member. Okay, actually, it's a perfect time to become a member. Free trial right now, tyt.com/holiday.
I actually have one more from Amplify I was actually reached out to that we had not read one name, but Greg Lowry also gave $150 to the Amplify program. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg. And now,
well.
A quick fun fact, then we'll go on the news. Chris Cuomo today has redeemed his TYT membership, and so has a producer of his, meaning that they now are Young Turks members. So the funny thing about that is, so you guys provide them, we try to get it to them. That's a challenge, honestly, and some folks have already redeemed, and Chris is one of them. And Ida Rodriguez and I talked about how we kind of like Chris Cuomo, right? Well, now he might be watching this, so there you go, Chris.
Yes. Be careful.
No, but I'll tell you, it did give me a little pause. Like, now folks at CNN are listening to the post game.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me. Do you remember when you told me that you heard there was a reference that Bashar Assad made to TYT?
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh.
Now, Bashar Assad apparently does watch, that's the dictator in Syria, does watch the Young Turks. He told reporter Michael Isikoff that.
He said, I like that, what the flick.
No, he did not say that. But I don't know that he's a member. We should check it out. Could you imagine? He's an activist level member.
He's one of those live chats that we do with the webcams.
Yeah.
It's
He's like, I could do more than $4.99. $10, okay, $25, too much. Come on now, all right? Okay, cannot go to live events where you get first tickets. I cannot go. I gotta stick with activist member. Okay.
Jesus, I don't even know what accent we're doing.
It was vaguely Middle Eastern.
It's okay.
All right, let's do the news, John.
Okay, let's talk about that. I got a million stories here. Let's see if we can get through them all. Representative-elect Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is attending the bipartisan freshman orientation sessions that have been going on for the new incoming class, basically. She's been doing that all week, and she's been providing us some behind-the-scenes coverage of what's going on. She's been posting on Twitter and Instagram and things like that. And she noticed something interesting about the trend in the speakers that were being brought out to speak to all of these, remember, Republican and Democratic freshmen, congressmen and women, about legislation, what you should vote for, what you can pass, what you can write, and things like that. And she tweeted this. Right now, she's at that bipartisan orientation. Invited panelists offer insights to inform new Congress members' views as they prepare to legislate. Number of corporate CEOs we've listened to here, 4. Number of labor leaders, 0.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
That's great.
Okay, now look, guys, they're in the House. They're in the House. So right now, both Republican and Democratic leaders are like, who's leaking this information? Oh my God, the phone call. It's coming from inside the House. So we elected real people into the House of Representatives to represent you guys. So all of these years, I remember this young woman walked up to me at an airport, said, hi, I watched the show, etc. This is a bunch of years ago. And I asked her if she was going to vote in the next elections. Now it's been so long, I forget which ones it was, 2014 or 2016.
It was the HW election.
No, it wasn't that long ago, as you'll see. And I said, are you going to vote? And she said, no. And I was like, why? She said, after Obama, what's there left to hope for? And I was like, wow, that's powerful, okay? And so for so long, Democrats promised things and then didn't deliver. And they would go to these seminars, they'd be like, well, of course, corporate leaders, but we bow down to you, corporate leaders. Yes, corporate leaders. They didn't even notice that there were no labor leaders. They just take it as a given, an assumption like, well, of course, we have to listen to the grand poobahs of industry. And now these 4 just Democrats, there's 7 of them overall, the 4 that were newly elected, they are fighters. So it's not just Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but she keeps calling them out. She's driving them crazy. But listen, there are representatives. We should know how they're giving orientation to them, indoctrinating them. And so there was a great news article a couple years back of a orientation that was leaked. It's actually a document, and in this case, it was the Democratic side, okay? And it told the incoming members what they're supposed to do, what their job is. And their number 1 job was, now this is not me saying it, it's the memo written by Democratic leadership. Raise money. You are to spend 4 to 6 hours a day calling donors to beg for money. How pathetic. I mean, look, there's 2 parts of it. One is pathetic. I mean, that's your job to represent us. You just call rich people all day long begging for money. 4 to 6 hours a day. That's unbelievable.
I wouldn't show up for the second day.
Yeah, right. And then like an afterthought was legislation, but
there was also an hour of recharge time.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even remember if they gave him any instructions on what to do about legislation. They told him like, okay, but here's where you go, the committees,
I looked at it today, and there was a section on it was like strategy and steering meetings. There was I think there was actually one that said like work for your district. It was like an hour, I think. I was like, that seems like a bit ironic. You're supposed to do that the whole time. But they did break down a few other categories. By the way, do you know who wrote that?
No, I don't remember.
I'm fairly certain because I looked at it earlier tonight. Ryan Grimm. It was two people. Ryan Grimm was one of them.
Can I just real quick? I mean, look, guys, if you're Young Turks viewers, I don't know if you know how much you've affected the world. So Ryan Grimm is a TYT contributor, and he's the one that broke the story about Kavanaugh. Now, he broke it for The Intercept, but he mentioned it in a Young Turks stream right as he was putting it up on The Intercept. And that could have changed the world. And that was partly you guys that built our reporting team, right? And you guys helped to elect these Justice Democrats. And look at the difference that they're making. In previous regimes, if you will, they say you work for your district for 1 hour a day. The rest of the time you beg donors, right? And these folks are not having it. They're like, no, not interested. Here's what I'm going to do all day long: represent my district. Yeah. So you love Ocasio-Cortez and what she did here and all the other times. Wait till you get a load of Rashida Tlaib.
Yeah, so we don't have like a full rundown of all of the speakers. I'm sure there's more than the 4. That was when she tweeted that. So I don't know who most of those are, but we do know one of the corporate leaders that was in. Rashida Tlaib tweeted out, Gary Cohn, former CEO Goldman Sachs, addressing new members of Congress today. Quote, "You guys are way over your head. You don't know how the game is played." And then Rashida says, "No, Gary, you don't know what's coming. A revolutionary Congress that puts people over profits." Damn.
Yes.
Damn.
So Gary Cohn was inside the Trump administration, and he's there to lecture them, let alone the fact that he ran Goldman Sachs. I think he was COO. So he comes in and goes, "You people don't know what you're doing. We in the Trump administration," he's now left, but we in the Trump administration knew what we were doing. Are you kidding me? What a joke you are, Gary Cohn. What the hell did you do in the Trump administration other than give yourself a giant tax cut? That's their only so-called accomplishment, which is giving a giant $1.9 trillion tax cut for the rich and for Goldman Sachs. And then he lectures down to them. And Rashida Tlaib says, "I don't think you understand. I'm a representative. You're nothing." Here's who Gary Cohn is: nothing. You might be rich, Gary, and you worked at Goldman Sachs and for Trump, so you find yourself in this presumptuous situation where, and to be fair to Gary Cohn, the Republicans and Democrats, because it's a bipartisan orientation, agreed to bring Gary Cohn in to talk down to these representatives, to lecture these representatives. Not interested, not remotely interested.
And what's so amazing is that Gary Cohn walks in there with, I won't use the colloquial term, he's got a lot of energy, I'll say, like, "I'm this rich guy, I represent all these other rich folk. I can come in here, I can throw my weight around, tell you to do whatever I want." And for the most part, he always could, and even now he still can with a lot of them. But if you're rejecting all of that money, it means nothing to you. He is a worm. He is one vote effectively, and not even in their districts. They don't accept his money. They don't accept the corporate money, so they're not going to be corrupted by it. And they see that. Literally, he walks in and they're able to look at him with unclouded eyes, seeing him for what he really represents.
Guys, I'm telling you, man, you partly did this. So would Rashida Tlaib have gotten elected anyway? Probably, but did you help? Yes. Not every one of you, certainly not the trolls.
You did nothing.
Right? No, well, they actually accidentally give us money, so bless their hearts. But
keep watching.
But for you guys who built this home of progressives, you know, a lot of you contributed to Rashida Tlaib. You volunteered for her, Ilhan Omar. These are all just Democrats. Ayanna Pressley and obviously Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We did dozens of videos about them and interviews with them before their elections. We had their back, and for once, politicians in America delivering. Now they've got our back and they're doing their job, which is representing us. God, democracy feels awesome now that we've finally gotten a taste of it.
Yeah. Why don't we take our first break? We actually have 2 international stories. Donald Trump, one of his big priorities in office, not working out the way that he'd hoped.
Oh yeah. I love this story. How little he knows about economics is amazing and stunning. We'll talk about it when we come back. We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you want to get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at tyt.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment. All right, back in the Young Turks. I'm going to do some tweets here, actually. Blue Cobco writes in, "Congress seems to be the best paid call center in the world." That's funny. The Nerdy Negro, that's his handle on Twitter, says, "If you spend 4 to 6 hours calling donors, that means you are bought and paid for, and you don't need our vote." By the way, that's the Uygur rule, just so you know, okay? If you are wondering if you should support corporate Democrats, establishment Democrats that do take corporate PAC money, well, it's really easy. If they don't take corporate PAC money and they're uncorrupted, whether they're just Democrats or otherwise, you should volunteer for them, you should donate to them, et cetera, because they're clean, they're uncorrupted, okay? But if they take corporate PAC money, it doesn't mean you don't vote for them. I'm sure that they're better on social issues than the Republicans are. So, sight unseen, these days in America, I'd vote for a Democrat over a Republican every time. But should you volunteer or donate to someone who takes corporate PAC money? I would say no, you shouldn't. They've already decided who their friends are. Their friends are corporations. And so they could be socially liberal, but they're obviously economically conservative. They honestly, they can't be trusted because they're taking legalized bribes from corporations. So why would you give your money to a guy who apparently has plenty of money from the corporate world? So that's the Uygur rule. You can vote for them, but you shouldn't volunteer or donate to them, okay? Seems fair to me. But thank you for making that point. Okay, so I want to tell you guys just a couple of quick things here before we move on to Donald Trump's ignorance. Okay, so wouldn't it be great if there was a progressive Netflix? That's pretty neat, right? Well, I got great news for you. There already is. It's the Young Turks. Okay, you kind of saw that one coming. Okay, but I want to let you guys know about a couple of things we're doing for you that is part of our subscription package. We're going to do basically kind of a newlywed game. It's called Hostmates. We made that up, where there's different couples that are playing against each other. So it's me and Anna versus Ben and Michael, John and Brooke, Ricky and JR, et cetera. And it was hilarious. So members, you're gonna love that. tyt.com/join. Actually, this is perfect time. You could actually get a free trial right now at tyt.com/holiday. Okay, that's likely for only a limited time, so take advantage of that. But now here's another fun part, okay? So next week on Thursday, we are going to do what is next for the progressive movement. What should we fight for? Now, you know some of the policies, but we're gonna prioritize. What should come first? What should we do strategically? How much should we fight for? How much should we try to push Democrats? It's easy to push Republicans, although not apparently for the rest of the Democrats, they never push Republicans. But for progressives, that's easy. But how much should we push other Democrats, right? So, and we're gonna have a whole range of progressives from very socialist, okay, some of them seem to make arguments that are borderline communist. Anyway, I'm not in that camp, but bless their hearts. Okay,
curious who now?
To establish a little bit more establishment-y, but really, you know, so we got the whole spectrum of progressives, but obviously, you know, having support of Wolfpack Just Democrats, and you know what Young Turks stands for. I think we're also arguably the mainstream of progressives these days, and progressives as in Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, people who actually represent us, obviously Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, et cetera. So that's gonna be a big night. Ro Khanna's gonna be here and many other guests, nice. And they're gonna tell us, and he's inside the House, he's one of the leaders of the progressives, and he's gonna tell us what priorities they have and what order they're gonna go in and how much they're gonna push Democratic leadership. So that is really interesting. Make sure you check that out on Thursday night. And then, like I mentioned earlier in the live show, John has his show, Damage Report. That's our morning show. And now that is available live to all the members. And also, as with all of our program, if you're a member, you can get it live, and you could also get it anytime you want. You could download it or stream it. So tyt.com/join to participate in that. I just want to make sure you guys get a chance to check out all of our shows. Anna's coming back next week. Her show is No Filter. We've got dozens of progressive shows for you guys, so good time to check it out now. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, Anna's been on vacation, and so we're doing this competition among the hosts to see who can sign up more people. Now, I've been here the longest, to be fair, so obviously I'm going to be winning, right? And Anna's been on vacation, so it's going to be easy, right? So I've got new numbers in, okay? And apparently we were doing it a little bit wrong, and that these are the up-to-date corrected numbers. And John, congrats, you're in third place, okay? All right, the legendary Jimmy Dore is in fourth place, okay? And so bless Jimmy's heart. And then we got a lot of folks, Haas, Francis, Ben, Emma, JR, Brooke, Brett. Sign up with any of their names, tyt.com/John, for example. And they don't get anything, it's just a fun competition. Don't look, don't cheat.
I already saw all I needed to see, and I am incensed, internet, incensed.
Okay, so John is in third place. He's got 204 folks that he signed up.
Hey,
okay,
thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot. So is it enough is he close to me? Is he almost gonna overtake me? No. So for a while he was ahead of me, not anymore.
I was satisfied with that, I'm good.
Okay, so tyt.com/Cenk is at 287. Some quick math on that, ahead of him by 83. I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying. Okay, so have I caught Anna while she was taking it easy down in South Beach where she took her talents to, okay? No, she's pulling away while on vacation. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I read the number wrong.
Okay.
When I read it, I thought you were up. That's why I was incensed.
I don't get it. All right.
Oh, there's justice in the world.
TYT.com/Anna is at 355 signups.
Oh my God, she's almost doubled me.
I had close to within about 40, and now she's pulling away again. I don't know how to catch her. Okay. TYT.com/Cenk. What is wrong with you? No, I'm kidding.
Here's what we've discovered today. These people are a bunch of bandwagoners. It's like, oh, she's gonna win. I just want to sign up with her. Make it competitive, people.
You know what? I think what'll really work is if we continue to insult the audience, you and I. Like, what's wrong with you people? Why do you like Anna so much?
I'm willing to try anything.
Okay, all right, bless your hearts. All right, come join the home of progressives, TYT.com/join. And like I said, this is a wonderful time because we have a free trial for you guys at TYT.com/holiday.
I have a couple of ideas for how I could possibly get more followers. It's desperate times, perhaps calling for desperate measures. I'm not ready to announce them yet, but if necessary, I'm willing to pull out the big guns. Okay, so let's jump back into the news. Bad news for Donald Trump and one of his big passions. That's reducing the US trade deficit, one of the sexiest of all political topics, but he talks about it a lot. And supposedly he thinks it's a terrible thing that we have this big trade deficit between the US and other countries. Unfortunately, the foreign trade gap in goods and services rose 1.7% from the prior month to a seasonally adjusted $55.5 billion in October, which is obviously that's news for October, but it's also sort of historic news. If you bring up this chart, you're gonna see that trade gap over time. Yeah. Widest point in a decade, actually. The largest deficit since October 2008.
Can we go back to that chart for a second, John? Because I want to draw attention to a couple of things in that chart, okay? So it looks like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that was there a Democrat or a Republican between 2003 and 2008 in charge?
I don't remember. No, yes, obviously it was Republican.
Oh, right, that was George W. Bush, right. And then when it was really low in the chart, here, no, let's keep the chart up. Between 2008 and 2016, when it's much lower, oh, that's right, that's Obama, a Democrat, that's interesting. And now it is spiking again for the guy who claimed that he really cared about trade deficits and he was gonna bring them down. And lo and behold, here we are at the highest point since the last Republican was in charge.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump, as usual, total loser.
And to put it in perspective, it has gone up 11.4% in October when compared with the same period in 2017. So a lot of progress in 1 year. So look, here's the thing. He talks about it a lot. I personally think that it's complex and the trade deficit isn't as uniformly bad as he describes it as. It's a complex combination of a number of different things. If American income goes up, then hypothetically that can lead to a greater trade deficit because when we spend money, if we're not producing the goods here, that means we're gonna spend more money, which goes outside of the country. Actually, wages going down could lead to a smaller trade deficit. So you have to look into the specifics. The problem for him though, is that while the trade deficit sort of goes up and down dependent on a lot of different factors, when it comes to him, there's actually good reason to believe that he has been having an influence on it, just not in the direction that he says. And it has to do with his alter ego, Tariff Man. So he is Tariff Man, he declared that. He sort of ripped the mask off on Twitter and says that he's going to use these tariffs to make money. The issue is that he doesn't actually seem to understand how tariffs work at all. He seems to think that the other countries pay them, which is not actually how it works. I pay them and you pay them. It's a tax on consumption for the country that the goods are coming into. Now, hypothetically, you could want that and you could say that long term, fine, we're gonna pay a little bit more in the short term, but it'll change consumer habits. And so in the long term, it'll benefit our country. Okay, that's fine. But right now, the money that he is like congratulating himself for raising is not Chinese money, that's our money. That's money that we spent. And I'm not sure that he actually gets that.
No, I am sure he definitely does not get it. He has been saying since the campaign, the Chinese are taking this money from us. It's just not how it works. not remotely how it works. And so it is a tariff that we Americans pay. So how would the Chinese be taking it from us? So, but like his argument though was, well, okay, we're gonna get it back from the Chinese, which is not factual, doesn't make any sense at all, right? But at least the trade deficit is gonna go down. But now the trade deficit has gone up. So in Trump's logic, well then China's taking more from us.
Yeah.
Right?
And what would it even mean if he says, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna make them make the trade deficit smaller? What does that mean? The trade deficit is just a combination of a couple of numbers. The amount we buy from overseas that comes into our country and the amount that other countries buy of our products that then go overseas. What is the Chinese government gonna do? They're gonna go banging on all the doors around China saying, hey, you better shop on Amazon more. What would that be in practice? Okay, look, they could change tariff policy. That might change things. These are second and tertiary effects, but they can't directly change it. It's not the Chinese government that's buying all these products, it's random people. If we wanna make a smaller trade deficit with China or with any set of countries, we need to produce more things that they wanna buy. That is the only answer. That is the only answer that there has ever been.
Okay, and finally, I am actually going to be super duper fair to Donald Trump because I'm merciful. And the reality is there's a little bit of a twist here that if the economy is doing well, people will buy more things in America because they'll have slightly more disposable income. But when they buy things, they are buying a lot of imports because a lot of our economy is driven by imports. So that's why this is a complicated issue. And so if you were an intelligent president and understood those economic principles, you would be thinking to yourself, this is a tricky calculus. I probably shouldn't promise a lower trade deficit and a better economy at the same time, because if I have a better economy, I'll probably have a higher trade deficit, right? Now, the idea that Trump would even understand that concept is obviously laughable, okay? So he's like, no, me have good economy and low trade deficit at the same time. No, you don't. That's not how it works. So I'm being fair to him in that, saying that, yeah, the economy up until now it's crashing, but at least the stock market is, had been on the continuing the upswing of Obama, but he hadn't killed it yet. And so people were buying more. That led to the higher trade deficit. But he's just too thick to understand that concept. If he did, he could actually take credit for some of it, just not the parts he's talking about.
Yeah, so you were fair. I want to take away a little bit of that credit now because as I said, there are some times when you can point to a particular act that the president does have control over that can lead to this sort of thing, and we do have that act. And it does have to do with his alter ego as tariff man. So October's exports drop partly reflects the continued drop back in soybean shipments to China following the imposition of tariffs. But there's also been a more general collapse in overall goods exports to China, which have now fallen by 30% over the past 12 years, which for one country, a fairly large trading partner of ours, to happen in 1 year is certainly significant. And to give you an idea of the amount of money that we're talking about, soybean exports decreased by $800 million in October and are down more than 40% from last year as China countered Trump's tariffs with hefty taxes on US agricultural products. So to the extent that he can directly influence this, he has. He set up tariffs. They in turn did exactly what we said they were going to do. They set up their own tariffs against soybeans. They're buying less soybeans, taking close to $1 billion. Now our overall trade deficit is like $55 billion, so that's not a gigantic percentage of it, but he could have taken away the 1.7% that it went up in October. That's pretty close to the soybean effect actually. And that is directly attributable to Donald Trump's action.
So last thing on this is that, look, presidents take too much credit when things are going well. They take too much blame when the economy is not doing well. It's more complicated than that. And you have to have a bigger picture look. So if you look at the 8 years under Obama or Bush, well, that actually is a fair assessment, as we were doing a little bit earlier, right? But if you're looking at any one time, they're not directly responsible for all the economy or all the trade deficit. But John makes a great point here. To the degree that Donald Trump has affected it, you could say, hey, you know what? He's got a good economy. That Obama had a good economy. That's why the trade deficit. Well, that's why a lot of things, including the stock market, were doing well, and unemployment was low. And Trump continued that, and hence the trade deficit under Trump. Not hence, but partly why the trade deficit went up. But he exports clearly went down because of a direct action that Donald Trump took.
Yeah.
So, and that was the tariff man, right? And so tariff man clearly made the trade deficit in that instance worse, not better. It is as directly attributable to the president as any action can be.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's turn to a related topic actually. The upcoming trade talks between the United States and China, which are supposed to happen soon. Donald Trump came back from the G20 summit saying that these are going to happen and hopefully will help smooth over some of the drama that he has created with his tariff man actions. They might actually be a little bit more tense than we thought they were going to be based on news from today. So let's bring up this picture. You're gonna see Meng Wanzhou. She's under arrest actually. She's chief financial officer of Huawei, who goes by Sabrina Meng, detained in Vancouver, Canada on Saturday, sought for extradition by the United States. The arrest appears to be related to alleged violations of US sanctions against Iran. So this is a high-placed officer inside of this gigantic Chinese corporation, the daughter of the head of that corporation, being detained in Canada because of a US request. That is huge international news. Let's get a little bit more information about Meng. As I said, daughter of Huawei's founder. She was detained when she was changing flights in Canada on what Huawei said in a statement were unspecified charges from the Eastern District of New York. The company said it has been provided very little information regarding the charges and is not aware of any wrongdoing by Meng. So to some extent, until we learn more, we have to take a look at what has been going on between our countries and what the priorities of the countries are. So the Wall Street Journal reported in April the Justice Department had launched a criminal probe into Huawei's dealings with Iran, and both the Commerce and Treasury departments had issued administrative subpoenas to the company on Iran-related issues. And understand that as this is going on, the Trump administration is looking to tighten sanctions on Iran after Trump decided to withdraw the US from the Iran deal in May. So this is, I guess, some sort of power play. Either they're going to make the case that she's involved in some sort of wrongdoing, the details of which have not been released right now, or it's some sort of negotiating tactic. Seems like a dangerous one to me.
Yeah.
What's your take, Cenk?
So this one's a little bit complicated. It's got upsides and downsides, but at the end of the day, as usual with Trump actions, potentially disastrous. So let me explain. First, look, I'm concerned about Huawei, and I think that some action is justified. So there, as usual with the giant Chinese companies that are connected to the Chinese military and government, there are accusations of spying, using their smartphones to spy in on people. It's gigantic, their smartphones in Europe. They're trying to break into the US market. Our intelligence officials are worried about that, as they are with a number of large Chinese companies. And then they're also trying to acquire US companies to get better technology. And the Chinese government does use practices that are not exactly free market, to say the least. And so it is not really a fair playing field. So those are real legitimate issues, and I think some action could have been taken against Huawei. Now, arresting one of their executives. First of all, we don't arrest our own executives. Right? Yeah. I mean, we had the bankers committed fraud on a global scale in 2008, crashed the economy. We didn't arrest almost anyone, right? So now we're arresting Chinese executives. Hold on, if you want, don't celebrate that, because there's a couple of things that come from it. Number one, one of our pretenses is that they are violated our sanctions of Iran. But we're the only ones who have sanctions on Iran. We're the only ones who backed out of the deal. Russia, China, the rest of Europe still have that deal with Iran. So, but we say, no, we don't care. We're gonna enforce our point of view on all of the rest of you. And if you don't follow what we say, we're gonna start arresting your business people, okay? I think that's crazy talk. And then now, if all you care about is America and America first, and you're that kind of guy, okay, you're a knucklehead. But even for you, think about it. We arrest their business leaders. What do you think is gonna happen next? They're gonna arrest our business leaders. Okay, you think China can't find a pretense? So we arrest one more person, and she's not only one of the top business leaders there, she's also the family member of one of the most connected and powerful people in China. So then they start arresting the family members of our leaders. And this gets to be insane really, really quickly.
Yeah.
So yet another terribly dangerous precedent set by Donald Trump because my guess is, as usual, he didn't think it through. You know who else is a business leader in America who's connected to the family of leaders in America? Ivanka Trump. She goes to China all the time. She has all those permits in business in China. Yeah. What if they're like, oh yeah, you violated our sanctions. Ivanka Trump, you're under arrest. Oops, didn't think about that.
What if it was Don Jr.? What if it was Eric? Well, maybe in that case I wouldn't care.
Yeah,
but it could be
they
serious.
Might get arrested
maybe.
here.
Yeah. Maybe it's already been Tiffany and we don't know. Okay, so but you're implying it's going to get crazy. It's starting to get crazy. If we could skip ahead, a spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry told reporters that Meng's detention without any given reason violates a person's human rights. And if there's one thing that the Chinese government is concerned with, it's human rights. The spokesperson said that China had demanded both the US and Canada immediately clarify the reasons for the detention and immediately release the detainee to protect the person's legal rights. I mean, at some point they are going to have to say what it was. Senate Intel Vice Chair Mark Warner released a statement that sort of implies that they're very focused on the connection between the company and the government, and they are talking about the possibility that some sorts of laws, sanctions laws, have been broken, but there's no specific claims about what was actually done. So at this point, we are still waiting to find out.
And finally, 2 more points here. One is, this is a bit of a Mohammed bin Salman move. It's a Saudi move. So what do I mean by that? Before he got famous all over the world for dismembering journalists, Mohammed bin Salman had done something arguably almost as crazy. He had kidnapped a foreign leader. The leader of Lebanon had gone to Saudi Arabia on a diplomatic mission, and they arrested him and made him do basically a hostage video where he gave up power in Lebanon. Like, what the hell's going on? And finally they released him and he went back to Lebanon and he's like, yeah, no, I take that back. Yeah, I'm the leader of Lebanon. What the hell was that, right? I mean, that's crazy. Mm-hmm. And now here we are following up with, okay, we'll start randomly arresting business leaders of other countries. That's a super dangerous precedent. And then, you know who didn't like that was the markets. They're like, oh, disaster, okay. And they're not worried about the arrests as much. I mean, I can't read their minds, but what I can read business articles, and what they say is, well, then this is potentially going to get much uglier between US and China, which is going to hurt trade, which is going to hurt the global economy. So the markets crashed initially again for the second day in a row. Today, they recovered a little bit when Trump keeps bullying the head of the Federal Reserve, and he keeps coming out and going, okay, how do I artificially inflate the stock market? He's like, okay, we were increasing rates, maybe we'll lower them. Maybe we'll lower. And so the market's like, oh, okay, fine, we'll go up a little bit. But overall, still the market's significantly down the last 2 days because of madness like this.
Yeah. We should probably take our next break, huh?
Yeah, okay, fine, you win, we will. Yeah, okay, now you guys know I'm up in arms over the cheating that has been going on by Republicans in Wisconsin and Michigan. We've been talking about the last couple of days. Now here they go again. Now they're doing it in North Carolina. And the way that they are cheating here is both ingenious and laughable. I mean, this is arguably worse than any of the rest, and more brazen and more preposterous. So we'll explain it to you, and we'll fight back when we come back.